Okay, so in this we're going to take another Rimsky-Korsakov trick and we're going to add it to like kind of a static chord atmosphere feel, okay? This is a very generic, honestly, I hate to use this term, but very generic kind of thing that film composers do is the minor chord literally shifting down a half step to a major chord using the, and holding the, and sustaining the common tone, and also chords related by a third. So this is actually going to be very generic chord changes, okay? And we're just doing this to create kind of a dark, ominous kind of atmosphere, okay? That's all. It's just an atmosphere. There's no melody. So we're going to do an E flat minor chord. The common tone, of course, would be the G flat, which is an F sharp and as a D chord. So, and then down a minor third to a B flat minor chord. Down a half step to the A chord, which has that same common tone, which is now a C sharp instead of a D flat. And chord changes like this produce kind of like a kind of dark, ominous atmosphere. So first I'm going to go actually mock this up really quick. It'll probably only take about 10 minutes using a typical full ensemble patch that you can get where it's everything's literally doubled. So you only have to play chords this small. So I'll be right back, and this will probably take about 10 minutes. So literally restarting the recording, here it is mocked up. Okay, so the first problem for me is that since these patches literally double everything, even at octaves and sometimes double octaves, there's too many instruments for one, and too many high register instruments are coming in. So I want to remedy this. I don't want to do this. I want some kind of, there's no motion either. It's just static, static, static. Okay, so again, there's too many high register instruments. I don't want that many. I don't want that big, huge sound like that. I want a little bit darker, lower end, ominous kind of sound, okay? And also, everybody has the crescendo at the same time. So when I'm using these kind of patches, everybody has to, and I don't want that. I actually want only a few groups to crescendo and decrescendo. So here's what I came up with. So again, this is straight out of the Rimsky-Korsakov bag of tricks when it comes to static chords. And the only instruments I actually needed were two bassoons, a contrabassoon, 3 horns, the percussion, and violas, cellos, and basses. By the way, that's a VSL render of the what's playing back. It's not the actual notation playback. So here's what we're looking at. That this is a very cool Rimsky-Korsakov trick. Is this polyrhythm kind of thing happening where they're playing the same note arpeggios in divided groups. So if you have divided group samples, this is perfect opportunity for that kind of stuff. Literally, if we start at the bottom cello, let's just do their arpeggio. In triplets, okay? Now the other group right above is actually just doing quarter notes, the same set of notes arpeggiated. Gives a very interesting effect to your static chords. Also using mutes, by the way. Now, the violas are literally just doubling the same cello parts at the octave, just for a little bit, and doing the same opposite kind of rhythms, triplets against quarters. So another thing we could do is the basses are divided. One's just playing a sustain while the other's playing the same note as pizzicato. So these are tricks you can use if you're sample users to just make your sample mock-ups more interesting. So literally by taking tricks from master orchestrators like Rimsky-Korsakov and using them with your sample libraries. So here they are back to back. So you could use these kind of tricks with sample libraries to get out of that static hold kind of full ensemble patches. And one of the problems I always have with those is everything's going at once and everything has the crescendo and decrescendo at the same time if you're using the mod wheel kind of things. And everything, in reality doesn't always have to be going at the same time. Sometimes you don't even need that many instruments in a specific setting. So we can use this Rimsky trick of this cross rhythm kind of thing between split groups to make static chords more interesting. So there's a trick you can use to create kind of a dark, ominous atmosphere using that Rimsky-Korsakov cross rhythm kind of trick. So it just makes things more interesting, even if you're using samples, in my honest opinion, other than just, everybody crescendoing at once and just holding static chords with a massive amount of all groups playing, literally. And there's also the fact that you can't hear like where the crossover is, what instrument groups are doing what, or control like specific instrument groups at all. It's really difficult with those kind of patches. So. And I personally think, stuff like this, when you start having those cross rhythm kind of things happen, even with just plain basic static chords and generic static moves like this, it actually makes it a little bit more interesting musically.